What's up, guys? Garrett here from Not Code the Web Anymore. I'm thinking I'm going to change the name of the channel to just Garrett Love. Don't worry, we're still going to be doing coding and all that fun stuff. But regardless, we'll get into that in a later date. So what I've been doing, other than web development, of course, which I've told you guys that I've been learning, more of at least, is iOS development, and I've actually been learning a lot. It's really helpful that I had already done Python and whatnot because I had a really good working knowledge of how computer programming languages worked and whatnot. So it's definitely made the process of learning iOS development a lot easier, but I literally just started yesterday. But for less than 24 hours, I think I've done a pretty good job. So I wanted to show you guys what I learned, teach you guys about what I learned in the process of showing it to you, and hopefully if you're interested, you will stick around. I'm not going to be getting away from web development, still doing that, still really enjoy it, still love it, but I also I've always wanted to make iOS apps, and so I think it's going to be really cool being able to do that, and then hopefully you guys will agree and enjoy watching them and maybe learn something too. So in today's video, we're going to be making a dice app, so we're going to have 2 die, and we're going to be just clicking a button and rolling them basically. And this is pretty simple. It's a really common starter project that you can use just to teach yourself about stuff. It's probably more common with iOS or maybe JavaScript if you're doing web development stuff. And the reason I say that is because it's more having to do with what you're seeing and what you're interacting with, as opposed to actually manipulating something from a database or getting information from a database like we had been doing, or like I was doing with Django. So, yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So if you don't already have Xcode, side note, you do need Xcode, and therefore you do need a Mac to be able to do this. I know there's other, third-party things, and I think Apple opened it up so that you don't have to have a Mac to be able to make iOS apps. If you don't have a Mac, unfortunately, there's not really much you can do, and they kind of force your hand there unless you can get a Mac. I don't know. It's up to you. If you do have a Mac, download Xcode and just follow along. You can do so in the Mac App Store. I have to say, really been enjoying Xcode. I think it's pretty incredible. And we'll do a tour of Xcode later on. But yeah, so for now, open up Xcode and let's start a new project. I've kind of already done that, and so it's now asking me if I want to, what kind of template I want for my app. I'm going to say single view app. Now, from what I've been hearing, although there are a bunch of other apps like a sticker pack app, tabbed app, game, augmented reality, whatever. There's a bunch of other things. What I've been hearing, and there's also the other operating systems up here, but what I've been hearing, at least in my course, is that most developers will start out with the single view app, and they would just import whatever they would need that the templates would be giving them. Anyway, so that makes sense, although I can't really give you examples because I'm not really sure of what those examples will be, other than, of course, let's say you were going to make a game, you can still start out with the single view app. Anyway, so let's click on next. We're going to start this name. We're going to call it Dice. Pretty simple. We're going to leave the team as no right now. The organization name will be Garrett Love. And the organization identifier, now this is a reverse domain name. You could use your name if you don't have a organization. If you have an actual account with Apple and you have a company, then you would want to make it whatever your organization name is. We're also going to make the language Swift because that's what I've been doing, and that's the thing that Apple's been going with. They kind of apparently been phasing out Objective-C. And we're going to leave all of these things unchecked. For you, they might be checked. They were previously checked for me, and I've unchecked them. So we're going to leave them all unchecked. We're also going to go into Documents and down to up to My Apps. And we're going to just save it in here. We're going to hit Create. There was something else. There was a checkmark thing that I didn't mention, but actually, you know what? That doesn't matter. Forget that I even said that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. Now, this might not be the order that, you are may or not supposed to go in, but this is just the order that I've kind of been learning in and that I've therefore been going in. As time goes on, you could absolutely come up with a workflow that works for you, just like I will come up with a workflow that works for me. So we need a couple things in here. Now, just so we're clear, the 2 files that we're mainly going to be working in are the main.storyboard right here on the left, and also right above that is the viewcontroller.swift. Now, the viewcontroller.swift is basically where all the code is going to go that makes our app work. And the main.storyboard this is where we're going to actually be dragging. Now, side note, you don't have to drag and drop the elements if you don't want. If you're an experienced programmer and you know how to just kind of make everything work within this view controller or the app delegator, I'm not really sure which one, you can do that. You don't have to use a storyboard or the interface builder or the drag and drop method or whatever, but we're going to be doing that just because well, it's just much more intuitive, I think, personally. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start out with this. Now, the background, we're going to make just a color. I don't want it to be black. We'll say other. This is going to bring up this, the stereotypical, Apple tool or a color picker thing. We're going to go to the crayons just so we can get color pretty easily. We're going to go with midnight blue. And once we're done with that, we're going to go to down to here. We're in this search thing down here inside of these. So by the way, there are 4 tabs here. These are all things that I believe you can drag into your app, right? You want to be in this second from the right one. It looks like a little home button. And these are all the actual elements, I believe, that you could be dragging into your app. So, we're going to drag in. So we're going to look for image. Just type image down there. It'll come up, image view. We're going to drag this in. We're going to start from the top right there. And we're going to drag it all the way down to the bottom. Now, there are guidelines that will come up similar to, I think, Photoshop or really any other Apple program, honestly. If you've ever used Keynote, it should be a no-brainer for you. Actually, Keynote or Google Slides or anything like that, they all do pretty much the same thing. So we're going to drag that in. And actually, you know what? Wait a minute. I don't think we want that because... So in the course, we had used... No. So we're going to drag in these 2 things. We're going to drag in 2 image UI elements. And we're going to set this one, if we come up here to the alignments and the sizing of things. Now, this is not the attributes tab, which is the center, but rather the size inspector. We're going to set the size to... I don't know, let's say, what does 50 look like? 50 is not that big. Let's set it to 100. And we'll set this to 100 as well. Honestly, I think we can make it bigger. Let's do 120. 120 by 120. And then we'll set this one to the same because we're going to have 2 dice. Dice. So we'll say 120 and 120. Now, I did make the color blue, so it might be a little hard to see where that guideline is, but there are guidelines right there. I don't know if you guys can tell. Let's maybe we can change the color here just for a minute because the guidelines come up as blue. We can make it the dice I think are going to be red though too. So let's just do this. Just make it gray. It looks okay. The next thing we're going to do is come up with a label. And by the way, those lines that I was telling you, there they are. So you can see that they do exist. Now we're going to type in label because we want to get a label. I don't know why that's been added. We're going to drag a label in and we're going to say... Actually, you can do this 2 ways. You can change the text either by double-clicking on it and typing like that. Or you can also change the text by coming over here into your inspector on the right and saying roll the dice. Next, we're going to hit... Command, is it not Command Enter? Shift Enter? Oh, whoops. That was an accident. Roll the dice. We're going to hit Command equals, and it's going to automatically resize that element to however big the text is. So we can either drag it and kind of try and get it there, or we can just hit Command Enter. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to change the font by clicking on this T right here. And we're going to make it to custom. And we're going to bring it to whatever that is. I don't like that, actually. Kefa? I don't know. Let's try that. Cool. And we're going to make this a 40. We want you to be able to see it. We're going to hit Command-Enter again. And we're going to center this using those guidelines. You can also lower it a little bit, maybe. Also, the last thing that we have to add here is a button. This one will do right there. And we will change the text color to, I'm going to make it snow. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if you scroll down, you have the background. I don't know why the background is up there, not with the other styling attributes, but it is not. We're also going to hit custom, and we're going to come here. That's fine. Let's make this 30. We'll hit done. We'll hit enter, but we're also going to drag it out a little bit so you can have some padding. And it's looking good. It's looking really, really good. Let's just save that while we're at it. Although Xcode does automatically save, so you might not have to do that. But if you want to be certain about things like I do, then definitely make sure that you do that. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this sidebar because we're not really going to be working with that anymore. And we are also going to drag this over a little bit. So we want to get the code and the UI kind of synced up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter down, come back up. You're going to hold down Command, or you're going to click on this. You're going to, wait. Is it Control? Yeah, it's Control, not Command. My bad. You're going to hit Command, or sorry, Control. I just said it and I messed it up. We're going to hit Control, and we're going to drag over, like so, and we're going to call this Dice Image 1. We're going to leave this to outlet. We're not going to touch that. We're going to leave that. And we're going to leave the storage to weak. I actually don't know what the storage does. Haven't really gotten that far. But regardless, we're going to put that in. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the other one. So we're going to do that. And we're going to call this Dice Image 2. And we're going to make them so they're on the same line there together. Okay. Sweet. Last, we're going to come down here, or not last, next. We're going to come down here, and we're going to connect our button in there. Now, you'll notice you get more actions here. You get more options. So before we just had outlet and outlet collection. Now we also have action. We're going to choose action because we're actually going to be performing an action here. So we're going to say roll button. And we will leave all this stuff like so. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up some variables up here. And we're going to say var. Now, in Swift, the keyword there is variable to set up a variable. Okay? So we need to do that. We're going to say random dice index 1. Now this is going to be the random number that we're going to generate for the image 1 is going to go in here. And we're going to say int is going to be equal to 0 because it's going to be integer and it's going to be equal to 0. We're now going to do the same thing again for random dice 2. And this is also going to be an int, and it's going to be equal to 0. We shouldn't have any errors there. Perfect. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set an array, and we're going to be calling that dice array. And that's going to correspond with the pictures that we actually have not put in yet. So don't forget that. We still have to put in the pictures at the very end. Now, variable and let. Sort of the same thing, but not really the same thing at all. So the difference is that they're both variables, so they both are containers that sort of hold information. The difference is that one is a variable and one is a constant. Okay, what's the difference? Well, a variable changes. It has a varying name, right? Now, a constant is sort of like a variable in that it can hold a value of something. However, it doesn't change. So if you try and change it later, you'll get an error. So for something that you know isn't going to change, so for example, my name Garrett, that's not ever going to change, I hope, right? So I can make that a constant because that's not going to change. And same for you. So we're going to set this to dice array. And we're going to spell array correctly. And we're going to set this to an array. And in here, we're going to have 6 different options, actually. And we're going to type in dice 1. And just to make things go a little bit quicker, we're going to type in, we're going to do some copying and pasting. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, we also don't need this. We don't need to have the UI stuff there because we're done with that. We've connected everything. And so it'll give us a little bit more space in the code. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create this function, and it's going to, well, actually, you know what? We'll create the function last. What I want to show you guys is how to actually, go about making this work, right? So we have this, and we have these variables that store a number, right? But now we actually want to create some randomness and do something with them. Do something with that, I should say. So we're going to set random dice index 1 is going to be equal to int, and this because we need this to be an integer. Arc for random uniform, and in here we're going to pass in 6. So this will create a random number between 0 and 5, going up to 5. Now the reason that's totally okay is because in here there are 6 positions, but only going up to number 5, because this number 1 would not be number 1, it would be number 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't actually need to go up to 6 because there aren't 6. So if it were to land on 6, we wouldn't really be accounting for that. We're actually going to copy and paste this, and we're going to change this to be 2. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to say, and now we're going to do is, just to show you guys that this works, we're going to say print, and we're going to say print this number, and this is going to get printed to the console, so we'll be able to see what's going on. So we're going to want to bring this console up, and if we run this, we're going to run it as an iPhone 8. So we're going to say, okay, run. So that's going to build our package or build our app. And actually, my simulator's over here. So we get this. Now, notice nothing's going to happen because we haven't actually done anything yet. But what will happen is right here, if you guys see in this console, we do get some random numbers being generated from 1 to 5, or 0 to 5, rather. So we're going to come over here. We're going to stop this. We don't need that anymore. And we're actually also going to get rid of the print because we don't need that anymore either. And now we're going to say, okay, we're going to assign those actual images to come up as certain images. So what we're going to do is we're going to say dice image 1 and dot image is going to be equal to UI image right there. And then we're going to open up and close that. We're going to say name is going to be, and then the array, dice array, and this is going to correspond with whatever is generated. So we're going to say random dice 1. We're also going to copy and paste this. Now, they say don't copy and paste, and I'll tell you why. That's because people usually remember to change this name here to from 1 to 2, but they usually forget to change it over here. So we're going to make sure that we do that. We change it to 2. Now, this will not work the way that we want it to. The reason is because we actually don't have any images. So what we have to do is we have to go in and put our images in here. So let's go over to the assets. This is where all the images are going to be. And we're going to go and open up the Finder. I'm actually going to bring them over here, but you'll be able to see them as I drag them in. We're going to go and drag all of these images in. So what we're going to do, we have this one. Now this is kind of tedious, and it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. So we have to drag all of these guys in. It's just that. Now what we have to do is drag the rest of them in. And Xcode actually knows to go and separate these by 1x or 2x or 3x, right? Okay, so now, fingers crossed, this should work. Actually, you know what? Let's actually also put in an image here. So we're going to do dice 1 and dice 2. All right, so let's hope this works now. Okay, so two quick side notes. I got some errors. We were able to fix them. The reason I was getting errors was because, number one, I accidentally typed in this. Instead of dice image 2, I have dice image 2. So if you actually change this to dice, it will give you an error. So instead of doing that, we'll just deal with the fact that I was an idiot and spelled something incorrectly, very obviously incorrectly. And we're just going to change this down here to dice image 2 because that makes sense. And it'll just be easier for right now. The other thing is that we had this as name when it should have been named, past tense. So now let's give it another shot. And we will see what happens. Build success. And we'll go to our iPhone simulator. And when we click on the button, we get a random number. So that is how you make a dice app. You could also put this onto your phone, and you could also make it so you can shake it. However, I can't exactly show you guys my phone, so there's not really much of a point in showing you how to put it on your phone, because we'll just do that in another video, and we'll actually dedicate an entire video to doing that. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely subscribe. Definitely going to try and have a lot more videos on iOS development, because I think it's really, really cool, and there's definitely a lot of potential there. And of course, as I'm going to make like cool games and stuff like that, and I'll put them on the App Store and you guys can download them for free. I think it'll be really fun. So I'm going to do that. Subscribe. Don't worry. We'll also have like web development videos coming out in the very near future, but I've just been kind of focusing, well, as of yesterday, focusing on this. So thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.